Hello, recorders. I'm reporting to you live from PowerHouse Comic-Con, their 5th anniversary, and it's
It's recording time!
Jesse, that's my catchphrase. Like, how would you feel if I said yours?
I mean, go for it.
Keep your knees high, Twinkle Toes.
Welcome, Lord Blood-Rah! You got a fan base, man. I love
bring
it.
your own fans. I like that. That's good.
You bring your own
with me. It costs a lot.
There, I was gonna say you bring your own fans like I bring my own crowd. You know, it's like
You have to like feed them and
we'll
water
trade.
them too.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
yeah, he definitely has to feed them. It's like a schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. 2 o'clock feeding. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, and he feeds them blood.
Yeah, exactly. I got you covered.
How's it going, man?
Good. Very good. Glad to be here. I always love PowerHouse Con. So it's
Yeah.
a fun day. You know. Yeah. Very enjoyable.
Super awesome.
Yeah,
man.
excellent.
We're happy to have you up on stage with us
thank
this
you very
time
much.
because you weren't on stage with us last year.
No, I believe we did an interview upstairs 1 year.
It was 2019, I think.
2019.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
and that was
yeah.
back when we were with Hardly Heroes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, before the world went crazy.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, man. So before we jump into your acting story and doing everything like that, let's get into a little bit about you, right? And just kind of throw who Blood-Rah is out with
Or how you became the Blood-Rah.
how you became the Blood-Rah.
I was just a lucky geek that fell into horror hosting backwards. Really, the opportunity came up to host some live shows at a winery out in Castro Valley, and a friend of ours was the winemaker there, and they showed Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah.
And I told them, well, yeah, you gotta have a host, da 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 da. So the show came off. I didn't host that one. This is before I was even hosting. And the next day, they came out to my place, and we're sitting there having a glass of wine, him, me, and my wife, and he said, well, I want to do this every year. I really want to host these shows every year because they did events at the winery and things. But I'd like to have another host. Do you know anybody? And I'm like, well, man, I don't know. John Stanley's kind of getting up there, and I don't know him that well. Da, da, da. And my wife turned to me and said, why the hell don't you do it? And that was it. That was it. I came up with Lord Blood-Rah the next year. I was hosting live shows there. That turned into the TV series. That ultimately turned into the podcast. Now the TV series is on streaming platforms all over the world, stations all over the country. If you told me 12 years ago I was going to be doing this, I would think you were nuts. I'm a lucky geek that fell into it, honestly.
That's awesome.
Really. And, always had the love of horror and sci-fi growing up watching Bob Wilkins' Creature Features.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like,
Absolutely.
What did
yeah.
you geek out on as a kid?
Creature Features. I mean, Bob Wilkins' Creature Features in the early 70s was the introduction to all of these films, the Universal films, the 50s sci-fi films, Godzilla, the Hammer films, all of it. And, every Saturday night watching Bob host those films.
Yeah.
And that's where anybody who's doing really anything in the horror community in the Bay Area pretty much grew up watching Bob Wilkins. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all his fault. It's all due to him.
Damn you, Bob Wilkins!
Bob!
So what's something that you see people nerding out on that you just don't understand at all?
Me, because I am ancient, anime.
Anime?
I don't get it. I can appreciate it as an art style. I can appreciate. Well, no, I see, but let me ask you this: is Akira considered anime? Because I love Akira.
I would say Akira is considered anime.
Okay, then I like that a lot. Mm-hmm. I loved Vampire Hunter D. Is amazing, but when you get like Pokemon or the cuter, the more kawaii aspects of, I just don't.
I was gonna say, have you seen Castlevania?
I have seen some of Castlevania. Yes,
so
very good, very good. Yeah.
Especially the lore behind that stuff. It's so good, man.
I know. So I guess there are elements of it that I really enjoy, but a lot of anime just kind of passes me by. Not really into it. I'm not a gamer. Really? I mean, growing up, my game was pinball until the big breakthrough was Pong. So
There you go.
that's all that stuff's just kind of passed me by. I'm not, and it's just so much time in video gaming. You got to spend hours there in front of it's just not.
And you found your passion, right?
I fell into it. Yeah, found my passion, horror and science fiction. These films have always been my passion, but to be able to present it and host it, I love what I'm doing. Really love what I'm doing. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So
Thank you.
going into that, like that love of what you do and everything like that.
Yes.
What were some of the things as far as like influences and like how did you develop your character?
It really just kind of came to me. The look.
It's a great
Just
look.
kind of. Well, thank you. Just kind of came to me as far
it's very
as
booby.
the eyebrows go.
Yeah.
That's. I'll get back to that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the eyebrows go, I sat down at a table with a mirror and a makeup kit and tried to come up with something. An hour later, I was just to hell with it. Drew some eyebrows on. I mean, I'm no kind of makeup man at all. But yeah, it's interesting that you say the voodoo thing because that I wasn't going for it, but it's kind of come out that way. And
It's the
my
top hat
family,
and the skulls. And
yeah,
Yeah.
And my family, my father's side are from New Orleans.
Okay. Oh.
And I have a strong, though I've never been, I have a strong affinity for
Right.
that city, New Orleans. My son is in a touring rock band, was in New Orleans and said he's never felt anything like that, like he should be there, like there's a connection to it. So I don't know if there's some kind of, familial link to the whole French Quarter voodoo scene. I don't know, but
It's very
the way it
Dr.
came out.
Facilier.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I was compared to Baron Samedi from Sugar Hill very often. Yeah,
Nice.
but that's just the way it came out. Yeah, I wasn't going for a voodoo thing, but it just happened to be that way.
I love it.
Well, thank
Looks
you.
good. So, how many shows or events do you? I mean, it's kind of weird with the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic.
Well, the
maybe
pandemic,
before the pandemic, how many shows, events were you?
You mean like live shows or conventions?
Like live shows,
Yeah.
more so like your own show. So more
Live
like-
shows, maybe 4 to 5 a year.
Okay.
But recently, I've been doing them monthly now at the Orinda Theater in Orinda, California. We have something called Chiller Diller Theater, which is every third Saturday night of the month at 9:30 p.m. and we show horror and sci-fi classics. I mean, the next one coming up is next month. We're doing Invasion of the Body Snatchers. We've done.
Oh yes.
We've done The Time Machine. We've done The Thing. We've done all the classics, and it's a monthly show, and it's a great thing. So that's something that I'm hosting on a monthly basis locally. Coming up in July, I'm going to be doing a live show in Peoria, Illinois, because my show is on regular commercial TV in Peoria, Illinois, and Fort Wayne, Indiana. So I'm doing a live show in Peoria coming up July, and a live show in October in Fort Wayne. And it's the first time in a couple of years, obviously, because of the pandemic, that I've been able to do live shows out there. I'm really looking forward to that.
Now, how did your show get that far out there?
Again,
I mean, that's amazing.
Again, pure luck. I started doing the way I started doing the TV show was I was at, I believe, it wasn't WonderCon. It was one of the might have been Big Wow in San Jose back when that convention was called Big Wow. Okay. And I was doing a panel on horror hosts, and somebody stood up in the crowd and said, "Yeah, I run the TV station over at Chabot College in Hayward. We'd like to air your show." And I said, "Oh, fantastic. Yeah, great. Let's talk."
I've made it big time.
I didn't own a camera. I didn't have a show.
Right.
But I knew instinctively, yes,
Yes.
I'll do that. So ultimately, bought a camera, built a set, started writing, picked the films I wanted to do, which are all public domain.
Yeah.
Then a friend of mine whose podcast, the Drunken Zombie podcast in Peoria, that I had contributed to, worked at a TV station out there, WAOE, in Peoria.
Okay.
And they were running Wolfman Max Chiller Drive-In. And he retired, and he said, "Hey, I know you got a show. Send us an episode, and we might air it." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll check it out." Later on that day, he said, "You're on Saturday nights at midnight."
Holy cow, that's awesome.
So then it got serious. I'm like, okay, I better get on this now. And then from there, it expanded to Fort Wayne, and for a short time in Michigan. Then the whole streaming platforms and everything. Very soon, by the end of the year, my show will be on Tubi and Amazon Prime.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
Good for you.
It sounds ridiculous. It sounds nerdy. It sounds geeky. It sounds Pollyannish.
That's why we're all here.
That's why we're here, man.
Well, no, it sounds Pollyannish more. If you follow something you love, doors are going to open.
Yeah.
Doors are going to open for you. If you just keep plugging at something you love, things are going to happen. I'm just very lucky in that respect.
That is awesome. I'm like, because I was able to catch like a YouTube snippet of your show.
Okay.
And that's kind of like, that was back in 2019 when we first interviewed you. After we interviewed you with Hardly Heroes, I was like, dude, I need to go see more of what's going on with him. And it was like, this is awesome, right?
Okay.
So the fact that you're on Tubi and Amazon just is a testament to the love of your craft and also the way your show is.
And also, very luckily, we're kind of in a new golden age of horror hosts.
Yes.
Because of streaming platforms. There are a lot out there.
There's a whole horror streaming platform.
Yes. Yeah. The Monster Channel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are a lot of us out there doing our thing that if, back in the day, back in the early 60s, it was independent TV stations that would have, horror hosts doing their thing, but for a local audience, and only people knew them were local. Because of
Save
streaming.
for the Crypt Keeper.
Well, yeah.
Save for the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing that happened with like Elvira.
Yeah.
Vampira, then later Elvira. Yeah.
Right.
But now because of streaming, you can watch them anytime.
Yeah.
For one thing, so that eliminates an element of the competition. You're not fighting for a time slot.
Right.
You're just, you want eyes on your show. You like it, you don't, whatever. There's a lot of them out there. So we're really in the middle of a golden age of horror hosts.
Renaissance.
A renaissance, yeah. And I really attribute a lot of that to Svengoolie. Because before Svengoolie went national on MeTV, I would say to people, I'm a horror host. And they would say, well, what is that? You put on plays? Or what do you mean by that? If I say, like Svengoolie, oh, okay, you host movies. So he really helped popularize it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. What do you enjoy most about the whole process? Creating the show, like
just the general sharing. I'm enjoying writing now more than I used to. It used to feel like a chore, but now I really enjoy the play.
Yeah.
I found my groove. Yeah. Exactly. But I just enjoy the general sharing of these films.
Yeah.
I like getting these films out there that that horror geeks have not forgotten, but to get them to, especially younger audiences.
Yeah.
I strive to make my show family friendly because I want families to watch with their kids.
Right.
Because I want to engender a kind of love for these kind of geeky films in kids as well.
Yeah.
So to keep the thing going, keep these films alive.
Right. Like, has sci-fi and horror, have they fascinated you your entire life?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't something that just kind of hit you in your 20s kind of thing?
Oh
it's
no,
like your entire
in my
life?
20s, no. I again watched Bob when he first started.
we're good.
I watched Bob when he first started the show. I was 8, I think.
Oh wow.
And started watching it then. I don't remember every episode.
Right.
The first episode I do think I remember was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein,
Yeah.
which was the gateway to the Universal film, especially for a kid, because
Right.
it's a comedy. Yeah. But no, I've always...
It was almost like
always loved it.
Scooby-Doo-ish. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Just because you have the comedy aspect of Abbott and Costello,
That's
but then
right.
they're meeting these horror icons.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So horror and sci-fi have always been my thing. Oh, Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
Trek. Growing up in the 70s, every night at 6 o'clock on Channel 2, Star Trek, and watched every episode multiple times, So
Right.
it's just always loved it. Always loved it. Never thought I'd be doing this, but always just loved the genres.
That's interesting. I wouldn't imagine Star Trek, but that actually makes a lot of sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
loved it. Yeah. Yeah, the original series,
Yeah.
it was a staple of after-school television. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like a lot of people don't realize like the string that connects horror with sci-fi, because there's always like a level of that in sci-fi,
Sure.
and then of course like in the more modern stuff you get like kind of Well, I guess like in the late 70s, early 80s, you start getting things like Alien and Aliens and stuff like that, where you're starting to mesh them together.
Oh yeah, there was always a lot of crossover. You know, the monsters from outer space kind of thing. Yes, there was always quite a bit of crossover in horror and sci-fi. Yeah, I've just always loved. Always been into them. Always been into both of them. What's
your favorite movie that you've shown?
Oh, today, because it always changes.
Yeah.
It's hard to say favorite, but one that comes to mind that I really enjoy. That was kind of, to me, I found it like in one of those 100 packs of DVDs, public domain films. It's kind of a diamond in the rough. It's a thing called Messiah of Evil. And it's a pure love letter to H.P. Lovecraft. It's that kind of otherworldly kind of folk horror thing. A young woman is getting letters from her father living in a seaside town, and the letters start getting stranger and stranger and stranger until finally they stop, and she goes to investigate, and all kinds of wackiness ensues. But it was written and directed by, I believe the last name is Hayek. I can't remember their names, but it's the same couple that wrote Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh, wow.
In fact, they took a break from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom to make this film. And it's a low-budget film. It's public domain, but it is one of the better horror films I've ever seen. And it's great. You know, it's proof that you don't need a big budget to do a great horror film. Well, Night of the Living Dead, right?
Well, I mean, there's horror is probably where you get the most of that, where you don't have to have a big budget to make a good movie. That's where you get a lot of focus on writing. And you tend to get a lot of good horror movies that are in low-budget areas.
Yeah, but the flip side of that is everybody thinks they can make a horror movie. And all you need is, you know, a monster and some blood, and not even a monster, a guy with an axe and some blood, and you got a movie. There's a little more. There's more to it, but it is.
But I mean, like, you tend to get a lot of, like, you don't have. It's the proof that you don't need a budget to make a good movie.
Right.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. I agree.
Yeah. Even like with big budget stuff, like when you start getting into these companies, Blumhouse proves that all the time.
Yes.
Where you can make good horror movies, but not have to have a giant budget for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Their take on the Invisible Man, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, very different from the original, of course, in the H.G. Wells novel, but really well done.
Yeah. But different in a good way.
Oh yes,
like,
absolutely.
It felt fresh.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why Blumhouse is like kind of leading right now with that kind of stuff, because that's kind of like their whole model is you can make good horror movies, you don't need a budget to do it.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So I want to jump back into kind of like your television career and everything like that. So when you transitioned from doing live shows to going into television, because you said it was kind of sudden, were there a lot of hurdles in that transition? Did you have to change your acting style, or did you just continue doing the same thing?
Oh, well, let me think about that. I was going to say I'm louder and more verbose on stage because you kind of have to be. Then again, I'm pretty loud on camera too. It is a kind of a different thing as when you're holding an audience live, as opposed to looking down a camera and knowing that you're talking to people at home. That's a more personal thing. Because with my show, it's, you know, the feeling is I am watching the movie with you. We're watching this movie together. We're getting together every Saturday night, and we're going to watch a horror film or a sci-fi film. And I comment on the film as it progresses. And, you know, some general information as well, but I'll comment on things that we've just seen mostly, or are about to see, and point out things that way. So it's more of a personal connection on the TV show, whereas live it's more of a presentation to a mass audience, you know? Yeah, so it's for, as opposed to a welcome to a welcome. Kind of. And where that really shows is I have a podcast called Lord Blood-Rah's Nerve-Wracking Auditorium, where I host old-time horror radio shows from 30s, 40s, 50s into the 60s. Great stuff. I mean, I talk about no budget. You know, it's all writing and sound effects, and all the monsters and the horror and the terror is in your mind.
Right.
It's fantastic.
A lot of sound design.
A lot of sound design, yeah. And for that, it's more of a thing like this. Because I want the audience to think that I'm inside your head, and I'm presenting this tale to you, and it's for you alone. So it's more that's the kind of the biggest departures for the Nerve-Wracking Auditorium as opposed to the live and the TV show.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question, anyways, was to talk about the podcast. So it's kind of like jumping into the radio. Like, I mean, it's not hard to choose which radio shows that you choose, but like, kind of, what helps you in that process of choosing like which radio show you're going to do?
It's just the stories that resonate with me that I fell in love with when I first heard them. This is actually kind of it's a retread of a podcast I used to do years ago, again with Drunken Zombie, with the Drunken Zombie Network. And my take on the radio shows then was more presenting it again like I was presenting films. Whereas with this, it's more of I am part of the story. I'm in your head. Think about this. Have you ever noticed? I hosted one called The Flame, which is about basically the goddess of flame comes to life and takes over this guy's life. And I talk about, have you ever looked deeply into a flame and felt like something's looking back at you? It's that kind of a thing.
I love that kind of stuff because you get chills down your spine when you start thinking about it.
Yeah, and there are some old radio horror shows that I would put up against a lot of modern day horror, as far as just pure chills and pure horror. Yeah. It's great stuff. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, because it just shows the kind of like the masterclass of storytelling.
Yes. Yeah. And back to the horror host thing, that is where horror hosting in an electronic medium started. The first TV horror host was Vampira. Mm-hmm. The first horror host in an electronic medium was Nancy, the Witch of Salem, in 1931, The Witch's Tale, radio show.
Right.
And so that's where the entire horror host thing started, was on radio, went to comic books, then went to TV. Comic books with Tales from the Crypt Keeper was a horror host.
Right.
Yeah, and I just decided, again, to keep these great horror genres and presentations alive, you don't have much of an opportunity to hear the old radio shows.
Yeah.
Much.
And you see, we take it for granted now, but like you think of like H.G. Wells and when he did War of the Worlds and how that freaked out half the country. People thought we were really being invaded.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
that again was the beauty of not only the storytelling but the sound design and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can listen to that today, and I would, if people didn't know they were listening to a radio play, I would think it would fool a lot of people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would think it would fool a lot of people, definitely, because it was terrifying to listen to.
Yeah. And then now, there's been so many different takes and versions of that story, but it all comes back to that radio story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you were talking about what makes a good horror movie, and it's really like, it's not the monsters, it's not the suspense, it is the storytelling.
Right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the presentation of it, like that's really what makes it. Like once you buy into it, you're hooked. And
it's very often the reaction of the people going through the horror.
Yes.
Because if you look at like Night of the Living Dead, that entire story is about what the people are going through in that house.
Right.
It's not. It could have been anything out there. It happened to be a type of monster that changed horror forever.
Right.
George Romero, George Romero invented that kind of zombie, the flesh-eating zombie. But it could have been anything out there. The story was more about the people in the house.
Right.
Signs by M. Night Shyamalan. It's not a bad film, but again, that film, it could have been aliens out there, zombies, whatever. It's about the story of what's going on inside that house.
Right. It's the suspense that gets built up, and it's the relationship in the family itself.
Right. Yeah. Right. People dealing with that pressure cooker situation.
Right.
And the ride you go on with the main characters.
Yes.
Right.
Kind of like what you're saying about that story about like, who's it? The daughters getting letters from the father, and starts to get a little wonky.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're experiencing the terror through her and what she's going through in that town. Yeah, definitely.
Now your podcast, we can get it on any podcast platform.
Anywhere, Spotify, Apple, Google. Yeah, it's wherever you find your podcasts.
Yes.
We're definitely shouting you out on our next show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm so gonna go download more episodes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
This guy right here is the podcast listening king.
Oh,
he will listen to the whole thing in a week. So it's like,
wow. All right, that's impressive.
I got you.
So you're definitely, he's probably going to go down that rabbit hole and
cool.
go on that. But I mean, again, we're probably going to shout you out on our next show.
Oh, thank you
so.
very much. Well, it's
Yeah.
fairly new. I've only got 37 episodes so far, so it's new. So you're getting
hey,
in
that's
kind of on
plenty
the
of-
ground
We just hit,
floor.
what, episode 75 for us? So
Yeah. Wow. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you. Oh my
Congratulations on that.
gosh. Does anybody have questions? I totally forgot about you.
we did not forget about you. I have time out for
immersed.
everybody on that. So guys, get questions ready. If anybody has any questions for Lord Blood-Rah, I have one more question before we jump into audience questions.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of want to hear from you two in the front because you've experienced this. So I kind of want to get your perspective, okay? So go ahead and ask your questions and we'll jump back to that.
So, and we kind of touched on it a little bit at the beginning right here, but how did the pandemic change everything in the last 2 years for you?
Well, obviously, it eliminated live shows, eliminated
Like,
convention
how did you
appearances.
adapt is really the
Right.
question.
I really dove into the TV show. I really dove into that production because that's just me. You know,
Right.
that's me. I write it. I film it. I edit it. I'm by myself throughout the entire process. So it just gave me that amount of time
I know how that
to
feels.
really invest.
Excuse me. I'm sitting right here.
But it gave me that time to really invest in it, to go full on into producing the show and improving the show and working more on the show. So
Right.
in that sense, you know, I did pretty well during it. But again, you know, missing conventions and missing live performances was, you know, that
Getting
that
together
part was
with your
difficult.
community.
Getting together with exactly.
Yeah.
That part was difficult, and it's now finally edging towards better.
Right. I mean, that was probably one of the more exciting things for us was to get back to cons. So doing stuff like this, you know.
Oh yeah. As a matter, I'm doing a con in Peoria, Illinois, and in July I'm doing one in Fort Wayne. Coming up in October. Live shows out there too.
Nice.
Part of them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hitting these other
That's
places again.
amazing.
Thank you.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thanks.
So what is it like finding your audience locally? How is that? What has that been like pulling people out of the woodwork? Like for like me being a Star Wars fan, it's easy for me to be like, oh, you're also a Star Wars fan, you know, like that. But finding your community, finding people that have the similar interests.
Well, I
what has
became
that been like?
I became kind of a fixture at conventions even before, you know,
conventions.
so people would see me and then they would catch the show and stuff. But it's still like here in the Bay Area, I'm not anywhere near as well known as I am in Peoria, Illinois, and Fort Wayne.
So
It's
interesting.
funny because you're from here, so it's like
Exactly, right? But I'm on regular commercial TV out there. So I do live shows out there. I sell out the theaters when I go out there. I'm able to sell out a couple of 100-seat theaters because Lord Blood-Rah's coming. Yeah, because they watched me on TV.
I love that.
Here, because it's more of a casual
Yeah.
thing. People know me from conventions or just know me personally or come to some of the live shows and stuff. It's not that kind of level of fandom, but still doing the local live shows is a wonderful thing because again, it's all about the movies. It's all about sharing the films.
right.
You know,
And it's that shared experience.
It's the shared experience, yeah.
Right.
The only reason I get up on the stage is to present this film to you, and we're all going to watch it together, and it's going to be a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Thanks.
That is.
You guys
great.
ready?
We got some questions out here.
Lord Blood-Rah, I have
Yes.
a question about your set.
Yes.
That fabulous set you have.
Yes.
The picture in the background
Yes.
of the lady, I believe it's from Black Sunday, with the axe in her head, is that really Barbara Steele?
It is deniably. There are enough changes in it for me to deny that it is Barbara Steele.
I'm different.
It is the artist that did that for me, Michael Mannion. I told him what I wanted in it, so it's a very similar thing, but it ostensibly is not Barbara Steele, but it looks a lot like it. I've got if you don't know, I've got a portrait that hangs right behind me,
Like over your right shoulder.
right? That
Yeah.
I'll often put inserts in of the movie or whatever that has an axe in its head and it's dripping blood.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Michael Mannion's here right now, isn't he?
Michael Mannion? Oh no,
He's not?
No, he's not. No,
Oh,
he's
he-
not a local artist.
Oh, yeah.
He's in Arizona. In fact, yeah.
I was gonna say, if you said Peoria again, I'm like, it's time to move. It's time to move. We know where your audience.
No,
We need
it
to go to
gets
Chicago,
Too
man.
cold in Peoria.
Have these guys drive to Peoria. You know,
It gets way too cold in Peoria.
that's so interesting that you
winters.
have such a big following in a different place, but it makes so much sense. You know, you just found an audience.
And again, falling into it, you know, if my friend Brian Wolford, who worked at WAOE, if he hadn't suggested, hey, send us an episode, I wouldn't have been on those stations out. Just happened, you know.
I mean, James, how do we explain Ireland and Norway?
Yeah, I don't.
We
just
have
happens.
fans in Ireland and Norway. And
Cool.
it's- Okay.
It just happens.
Time to go on tour.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, right? Give us an excuse to go to Ireland and Norway.
There you go.
So you do live shows. You go out
Yes.
to Peoria. You got the podcast, TV show. What would be like a dream or nightmare event that you would put on? Like if you were to put your own festival on, the Lord Blood-Rah Fest Con.
Well, I do have a convention too.
Yeah, let's talk about
Is it
that.
in Peoria?
No, it's local. That's in California.
We're sending it to Peoria too.
Yeah, right. It's called Creatures Con.
Oh, yes.
And Creatures Con's been happening for a couple of years now. Our next one is coming up August 7th at the Concord Plaza Hotel. Sarah Karloff, Boris Karloff's daughter, is going to be there.
Nice.
Yeah, David J. Scull. Yeah, absolutely. David J. Scull. There you go. David J. Scull, horror expert's going to be there. Bob Elmore, who played Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre
yes.
2. Who else is going to be there? Beverly Washburn. And we're doing a special showing of Spider Baby with her. We're doing a Q&A after that. Now, everything goes back to Creature Features. Creatures Con started as a Creature Features convention solely in 2011, I believe. And it was the only Creature Features convention dedicated to Bob Wilkins and John Stanley's Creature Features. And Tom Wersch, who is a local filmmaker, made the documentary Watch Horror Films, Keep America Strong on Creature Features, and a new film, Up Late with Bob Wilkins, that is fantastic. We co-founded the convention because there was no Creature Features convention, and we knew there was a big fandom. But as it went as it went on, we knew that we needed to expand the scope of the convention into just classic and nostalgic horror and science fiction. Definitely. So that's what it is now. It's all about classic horror, classic science fiction.
It's such a big genre, and it's like people talk about anime all the time.
Yeah.
People don't talk about horror, but it's out there.
It's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. And some of the biggest conventions out there, horror, Monsterpalooza, I think, is coming up next weekend.
Yeah.
That's a huge convention down in LA.
This is different from Sinister Creature Con, right?
Oh, it's different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I'm going to be at Sinister Creature Con up in Sacramento,
Yeah.
but no, Creatures Con is the Bay Area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we
Sinister
have a
Sacramento.
good relationship
Yeah.
with them, and we're not really confused
Yeah.
as far as they're up there, we're down here. We do classic horror, they do horror in general.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it works out well. Yeah. But it's but you talk about a dream. Wow. Like
How about this?
out and out fantasy.
How about this? Give me 3 guests you would love to have, like maybe
Like your top 3.
Yes.
just absolute wild fantasy?
Yeah.
It's got to be Karloff, Lugosi, and Vincent Price.
There you go.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, to talk about a dream horror festival to show Frankenstein, Dracula, and Vincent Price film. Well, my personal would be Dr. Fives, which Svengoolie is showing tonight.
Nice.
Dr. Fives, to interview those 3 men after those films. I can't believe I'm going to be interviewing Sarah Karloff at Creatures Con coming up. There's just so much I have to ask her about her father's work, and But they would be wonderful. People, if you're going to restrict it to people alive today, I'd love to interview Robert Englund. He seems like a great guy. He would
I've
be very
heard
interesting.
so many good things about him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be very interesting to meet and to interview. That would be fun. That would be fun.
I've heard he's a very fan-centric guy. He's very...
Great. That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. There were a lot of actors out there that denied ever doing horror films.
Oh,
and
yeah.
were not about the fans.
Yeah, no. Freddy's huge about making sure that he does every cameo that has to do with Freddy Krueger, he's been in it. It's always been
That's cool.
great. And he always has he's somewhat opinionated about his character, but I mean, of course, yeah, it's his character,
He's got the right to be.
Exactly,
right? Yeah.
But I mean, everything I've ever heard about him has always been good.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know. That's good to know. So yeah, that would be a great get to do it at a convention or a live show.
Mm-hmm.
That would be really cool.
I was just thinking about how we've done cons just like this, and met fun people and celebs like yourself. Like John Provost. In the next room, it's was it Zachary Levi?
Zachary Levi
year?
was fun.
It was nice. So I'm like, who else? Who's on your list of people that you would be like, I want to meet so and so and have that conversation, like a Robert Englund. That's amazing. So that's cool.
Yeah, Robert Englund would be. I would like to meet him. I'm always very careful because one of the worst things is to have a celebrity idol and meet them and they're horrible.
Yeah.
That's never happened to me, luckily. But I'm always wary of. They say never meet your
heroes. Yeah.
I'm always usually very, very wary about that. I'll tend to hang back and observe somebody more than to go in and say, "Hey, I really love your stuff." And
yeah, so far everyone we've met have been pretty cool.
Yeah, the one person that I did do that for because I had to was a few years ago, Monsterpalooza. I met Martin Landau, and I walked up and shook his hand and I thanked him for his performance as Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood. I said that was
nice.
Absolutely wonderful. You gave such dignity to that man who has deserved it for so many years, and he was very gracious. So, yeah. So, but you're always, always wary of, are they gonna,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want a question. You have a question?
Yes.
Okay, give me a question.
Go back as far as Bob Wilkins. I go back to the early they kicked in the UHF channel.
Yes.
On Channel 44 every Saturday.
Asmodeus?
Glob.
Glob?
Glob. It was just this mass that kept pumping through air and that voice talking.
Glob.
It's on KBHK TV channel 44.
Wow. Okay.
Then we went into Asmodeus.
I've never heard of Glob. Glob, apparently early horror show on Channel 44 in local Bay Area. Oh yes. Okay.
Beginning of the end.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No, I got to look up some YouTube clips of that. I remember Asmodeus. Asmodeus's show, and then for a while here we had The Ghoul syndicated in the afternoon. Then cable, we had Commander USA for a while there. So Kung Fu Theater, yeah, right. In general, I don't know. Horror hosting is alive and well and going through a kind of renaissance. Any other kind of hosting, I don't know. Horror kind of has it locked up.
Back in the early 70s on Channel 36 and on Channel 20 was
The old sourdough.
And Wachi Kanoki.
The old sourdough hosted old westerns on Channel 36, right?
Yeah, 36 and 20.
36 and 20, I remember that, yeah.
The perfect 36 in San Jose.
That's right. But as far as any other genre having hosts, as of now, no. It could always happen, because there are more than enough westerns and that kind of thing. But horror and sci-fi, it's such a unique thing. You don't see Western conventions, comedy conventions, romantic comedy conventions. You have horror and sci-fi conventions. There is a Western convention. Okay, but it's
one
on a
Western
smaller.
convention.
One, yeah, right.
You see Western shows.
You see Western shows, yeah,
Rob and Trainer down in Denver.
right, yeah. But there's a
There's a horse show right next to us over there. It's like-
yeah. But there's a sense of community among horror and sci-fi fans, and I think that's because that genre's been marginalized for so long. They're looked at as it's that horror and sci-fi stuff. That's for kids, or that's not really filmmaking, or da 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 da.
Right.
So fans of this stuff naturally seek out other fans and want to talk about this stuff. Now it's mainstream.
Yeah.
Now it's mainstream. Marvel, comic book is mainstream.
Yes.
Geeks are mainstream now.
Which actually,
Yeah.
talking about that, like Marvel just took the leap and put a little bit of horror inside of the MCU.
Yes, yeah. Moon Knight was fantastic.
Moon Knight is one thing, but Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that yet.
I have.
Yeah,
Sam
like
Raimi.
the Sam Raimi stuff and
Right.
him bringing back like the Evil Dead stuff.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
he definitely put a lot of elements of Evil Dead in that movie.
And I understand Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, that's
Werewolf by
coming.
Night is
gonna
the
be
next
coming
one.
back.
Yeah.
So what I would like to see, talk about fantasies, what I would like to see is, because all these characters are public domain,
Mm-hmm.
and Marvel has done them all, and Universal doesn't seem to be able to get their stuff together as far as the monsters.
Yeah.
Let's see the Monster of Frankenstein, the Tomb of Dracula,
Yeah.
Werewolf by Night, the Tales of the Mummy, I think was it? Zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Tales
see
of the Mummy, yes.
Let's see Marvel.
Well,
attack
Universal.
these characters
The news just came out that Universal is trying to reboot that franchise again.
again.
And
Into
they're-
one universe.
Yeah,
versus-
well, they're trying to do the single universe stuff, but they're still going with that same Mummy universe that they failed with.
Oh no!
Because they were working on a Bride of Frankenstein, and they're jumping back into that with Javier Bardem as Frankenstein's
as the
monster.
yeah.
So I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do with that. But it's like Universal, their issue is they need to find the right writing, and try and not sensationalize the whole thing, because they're trying to do like an MCU style thing, and it's like, do your own thing. Right?
But and that too.
Yeah.
Today we say an MCU, a Marvel universe.
Mm-hmm.
The first people to create a united universe was Universal.
Yeah.
Right, with House of Frankenstein. It actually started with Frankenstein meets the Wolfman.
Yeah.
Right, to combine to have a monster universe. That was Universal.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So I don't know. I was
think
not a
we're gonna
fan
see
of
a
that movie,
push.
so.
I think we're going to see a push in the next few years. I just saw that they released, or they're about to release a Funko Pop, and it's the Universal Monster series in blacklight.
Oh, nice.
cool.
Okay,
So they're all going to
nice.
be blacklight. Like I saw the Frankenstein's monster one. It looked really cool.
Like the Mummy
Nice.
would look really cool as that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's coming. It's
One of my
coming.
big problems with that last film, The Mummy,
Mm-hmm.
is they're
I didn't
trying
watch it.
to set them up like superheroes.
Yeah.
And they're not.
No.
They are monsters.
Right.
Treat them that way.
Right.
That's the way they were treated in the original films. Just do that.
Right.
Do some new spins on it or whatever, but do that.
Well, because the problem that you have in Hollywood is everyone is, well, this is what's working, so let's do that.
Absolutely.
And it's like, no, there are ways to do this where it
Yes.
works in your context without having to make it what they're doing.
Absolutely right.
You know?
Absolutely right.
It's
yeah.
they have to understand the look and feel and what you're trying to get out of it. 'Cause,
Right, yeah.
you're not going to get Marvel out of horror. I mean, like Marvel can put horror into their genre and make it work with Doctor Strange.
Right.
But that's not their original thing. They're
Right.
they're interjecting a little bit in there because they can put genre within their own genre.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing is if you're going to do a monsters universe, focus on the horror aspect
Yes,
of it. Like
absolutely.
make it. If you're going to do the Mummy, then make it the Mummy. Don't make it like this, super monster,
Right.
superhero thing, or Frankenstein's monster. Like again, like you look at Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is a running aspect in that Mummy movie.
Yeah.
Because they want to make him a character in there, and it's like you're making him a. What did I just do? Okay, I just turned myself down by accident.
you
but
you silenced yourself.
I know, right? You're like what they need to do is focus on that horror aspect,
Yes.
and you'll bring in that horror audience.
That's right.
Like that's what they should be doing, and that's what every film company should be doing, is not copying what Marvel does, and
Absolutely.
rather finding their niche and working within that niche.
Absolutely. We know these characters today that are almost 100 years old. As a matter of
Right.
fact, we're doing a show at the Orinda Theater the day before Creatures Con, which is on the 7th, August 6th, which is the 90th anniversary of The Mummy, of Boris Karloff's
Karloff,
Mummy.
yeah.
90
Nice.
years old. A lot of these films are almost 100 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
This year, Nosferatu is 100 years old.
And Nosferatu's been getting a lot of push lately
Oh, yeah.
within genre in general. Like
Right.
they haven't made a Nosferatu movie, but people have been pushing Nosferatu.
Robert
There's a show
Eggers of The Northman and The Lighthouse is doing a remake with Willem Dafoe.
That's right. I saw that.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Yeah.
That's going to be great.
As long as they stick within, like,
Yes.
honoring Nosferatu and not making it like, this
Yes.
this crazy thing, especially with like where horror has been going lately. Like, keep it horror. Make it a movie that scares the pants off of you, but also honors Nosferatu as the creature that he is.
Exactly. The reason we still know these films and these characters today is because they're good.
Yeah.
Don't reinvent them. Add things to them. Add to their legacy, but don't try to
And honor them.
Right.
honor them.
Yeah.
Honor them. But
stay
don't try
true
to
to the lore.
rebuild them.
Hey,
Yeah,
real
stay
quick,
true to the lore.
before we hit the wrap up questions, I want to hear from the community. I want to hear about what you
Both of
love
you.
about the community. You guys go to the Orinda shows and everything. Tell us about that.
Rinda is a beautiful theater. Am I not
Yeah.
right?
Gorgeous theater.
It is.
Old movie palace that's
Classic.
still standing and wonderful.
1941,
Yep.
and it's just a lot of fun. I have met a lot of friends there. My buddies to go there, and we
Full bar.
always have a great time. And Lord Blood-Rah and Sci-Fi Bob Ekman.
Sci-fi Bob. Yes.
They put out great stuff. He runs a lot of really obscure movies and shorts and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun to watch, and it's just a fun experience.
And-
It's a really
and-
fun experience.
For that, all praise goes to Derek Zemrak, who owns that theater, because you can own a beautiful movie palace like that, but he is a fanboy. He loves doing this stuff. He loves horror, science fiction, comic book, superheroes, all of that.
It's part of the community. Yeah.
Part of the community.
Yeah.
He's doing the first ever Croft Con, May 21st.
Oh, Sid Croft?
Sid and Marty Croft.
Yeah, we met Sid Croft at LA Comic Con. We
He's great. Yeah.
They're both going to be there next weekend
Yeah,
at
nice.
the Orinda. Yeah.
Yeah, because we help out with Project Wish Upon a Star every now and then.
Oh, wonderful.
And they work
Okay.
with they work with Sid Croft a lot now.
Okay.
So we got to meet him and like some of
Nice.
the actors that are around. I actually had to make a
The Land
playlist
of
for
the
him.
Lost.
Nice.
Kids.
Nice.
Not kids.
Well, they're not kids anymore.
All the genre stuff going on at the Orinda Theater is all down to Derek Zemrak. The way, as I say after every show I do there, thank you, Derek, for letting us play in your house.
That is awesome.
Because
And
he,
also,
wonderful.
And also a couple other great theaters that you've done shows at, the Bowel Theater in San Leandro.
The Bell Theater, which is primarily a music venue now, unfortunately. Yeah.
And then we had the Ring Theater.
The Ream Theater, yeah, which is still there, but now primarily just first run. They don't do events anymore.
Oh, okay.
But as far as shows, theaters that do events, those are rare, and the Orinda is like one of the best.
That is
They are
awesome.
great.
Well, thank you for bringing this horror community together.
Well, thank you. Thank
It's
you.
amazing, and obviously it's working, and people are finding.
And also, it was these type of shows that they do, all the horror hosts, Lord Blood-Rah, Miss Misery, John Stanley.
There are a lot of us out there.
Vincent Von Dahl.
Yeah.
All of them, we get to dress up in our monster costumes.
I love it.
Cosplay. We didn't even talk about
Cosplay.
cosplay. Oh my gosh.
Cosplay. There you go.
We got a couple wrap-up questions here before we let you go. So,
okay.
number one, what is your favorite kind of taco?
My favorite kind of taco?
Mm-hmm.
Is it horror themed?
It's right now carne asada.
Carne asada?
Right
Okay.
now. Yeah.
Is it a spooky carne
I'll go with
asada? Like,
sure, it's a spooky carne asada.
So, Lord Blood-Rah
Yes.
and Rod Serling in his prime get in a fight. Who wins?
In a physical fight?
You know what? In this case, it would be a host off.
Oh, a host off?
Yeah.
Oh, all respect to Rod, definitely. If it was a physical fight, I'd go for. He had notoriously bad knees. I would go for the knees. Literally, because of when he was in the army.
Right.
It wasn't unusual for his family to hear him falling down the stairs because his knees would just go
Just
out.
give out.
So in a
I can-
physical fight, go for the knees. He's done.
I
But
was gonna
host
say
off,
I
he's
can
done.
I can attest to that because I'm a former army guy and I got bad knees, bad back, bad
Okay,
hips.
so
So
you know what I'm talking about.
he's gonna take you out as soon as we get off the stage.
exactly. Here we go. Any advice for anybody who wants to try and get into the industry?
The horror hosting industry?
Yeah.
Love the movies.
Follow your passion.
Love the movies and follow your passion. Yeah, if you really truly love the movies and want to have a drive to share them with the fans out there, do it. Buy a camera, film your, do it. Just go for it and do it.
And come be a part of the community, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
Right.
Well, thank you so much.
I was gonna say, what's next for you?
The next thing coming up is Creatures Con, August 7th at the Concord Plaza Hotel, big convention. The day before that, the 90th anniversary of the Mummy show at
Yeah.
the Orinda Theater. By the way, I should say that our special guest for the showing of The Mummy will be Sarah Karloff.
Oh,
And
Yes.
David
nice.
Skull will be there too, who's a fantastic horror expert,
Okay, cool.
author, and just a great guy too. So we have 2-day tickets available for both of those events at creaturescon.com. The show is in the middle of season 12 right now, so I'm still in the middle of production for season 12, getting episodes ready for Tubi. So Lord Blood-Rah's Nerve-Wracking Theater should be on Tubi and Amazon Prime by the end of the year. I've got a show coming up in Peoria, Illinois. It's looking like July 23rd.
You make us look lazy.
I want to do shows in Peoria,
The
Illinois.
busiest man in horror right here.
I'm trying to be.
And then where can people find you? What are your social medias and stuff like that?
LordBlood-Rah.com is the best place to check for everything. I drop an episode of this series every Friday, an episode of the podcast every Saturday. You can find it all there on LordBlood-Rah.com. It's got all my live appearances,
Awesome.
merchandise. Right now, if you walk through that door and make a right, my table's right there. I got a bunch of stuff for sale. Or just come by and say hi.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
Lord Blood-Rah, we appreciate you coming and talking with us, man.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank
You have a
appreciate it.
great rest of your day.
You too.
And
Do you have a question?
Oh, do you have a question? Yes. Yes, that's why I'm so excited about Willem Dafoe actually doing Nosferatu. Yeah, that was a great film.
that's going to be
That was
creepy.
a wonderful film, yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be creepy just because Willem Dafoe can be pretty creepy.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, no one plays an outright psycho better than Willem Dafoe.
Right.
He's fantastic. Yeah,
Stop by the table after this.
yeah, definitely come by.
All right. Well, guys, thanks very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.